Hey, actually, again, I had another video planned for today. I actually have about 75% of it done, but I ran into some technical issues. So instead, I wanted to put something out this week. So instead, we're going to do a little segment I'm going to call bizarreware. That's, pretty original. Bizarreware, man. Every day I feel like I'm getting more and more like a cheap Chinese ripoff of far more successful YouTube channels, but it's catchy in its own sort of way. But so I'm just going to show some random things that I have sitting around that I find somewhat bizarre or possibly even odd. So first thing we have here, well, before I actually get into it, I want to do a quick little thing, just talk about retro computing and collecting, actually. And what that has to do is, like I've said in other videos, I'm also a big video game, like console game collector, Nintendo, Saturn, all that stuff, PS3, Odyssey, but actually for quite a while now, it seems like the mystery and magic of that has kind of gone away. I used to be really active on a video game forum called Digital Press a while back, and I mean, it's been brought up there too, but it just seems like a lot of the mystery of video games is gone. Every game, even to the most obscure titles, has, 100 reviews. It seems like all that ground has been treaded on, and I'm not saying it's not fun and it's still exciting, but it's just a lot of that mystery's gone. There's just something special that's gone, and stuff happens. Prototypes show up. Just recently, the whole the PS Super Nintendo mix console thing came out, and stuff happens. But especially on an individual level, it's hard to come across some of that stuff in the console world anymore. But the thing I found with retro computing, and that's not even going into price, prices on that stuff have become ridiculous. I mean, I'm a hardcore TurboGrafx PC Engine collector. It's not even fun anymore, because even some of the worst titles go for so much money, and it's not that fun, because it's just everything. I have many games, TurboGrafx games, and it's just I wanted to, I wish I would have kept at that a year, 7 or 8 years ago, when prices were a little more reasonable. It's just every single game left that I need is $60+ range. It's ridiculous. But that's on a tangent. The thing I love about retro computing, other than it's cheaper, you can find wonderful deals for super low amounts of money, is there's still mystery involved. There's still things to discover. And I'm going to show you two things today, starting with this, that, it's just, even on an individual level, as an individual going out to flea markets, swap meets, Craigslist, you can find weird and rare computery stuff that you never even know. I've been into retro computing for a long time, since, the early 90s. I've always been into it. I had an Amiga, Commodore 64, and I got really heavy into it starting maybe 7 or 8 years ago, seriously collecting retro computer stuff. But even today, there's still stuff to discover, and I still come across stuff and it's like, I have never heard of that before. Wow, that's interesting. There's still things to build and things to find out. And that's what I really like about it. There's still mystery and discovery in retro computing. And here, I'll start getting to it now. This is the first thing I wanted to talk about. And this is a board I picked up at a swap meet. There's a really cool swap meet that goes on around where I live. And it's once a month, and it's a lot. There's a lot of old computer things that show up there throughout the day. And a box came in, and this was in it, and I saw this motherboard, and I saw these slots right here. Now they're brown, same size, and I thought they were EISA, or EISA, and I don't have an EISA motherboard, and I kind of wanted one. So I got this, and it came with this card. As you can see, also looks like EISA, if you know what that is. A bit longer than ISA. But I got it back, and it's not EISA. Now, this is a 486 class board. There's an SX chip in it here. Room for a CPU upgrade. It's a sys chipset. And, doesn't look too special. But the cool thing is, well, actually it's not a cool thing, but I couldn't really identify this board. I had to get help off the vintage computer forums and some cool people off Vogans. And, we had to do a lot of detective work. There was no information on this motherboard on the internet. So that's what I find boggling. The whole of the internet, of all this human information, you can still come across stuff that is not even whispered upon it. Unless it's somewhere on the deep web, but I doubt there's like weird, obscure vintage computer forums floating around on the deep web. I don't know, maybe that's where to look. These actually are not ESA slots. They're Opti Local Bus. Now, like I said, there's a couple cool things. A lot of people, we were looking for what kind of, there's a kind of a sticker on here that gives clues. I finally was able to sort of confirm it by posting. I got it to post, and you can use the bio string. Also, there was a FCC ID on this, and this I went with this, and we figured out that this was a Chain Tech motherboard, and you could go to their website, and there's a very obscure reference in their history archives about making an Opti Local Bus chipset in like 93 or something. And we were able to kind of put it together and how their naming scheme goes and sort of identify the board, but there was actually no information, no jumper charts, nothing on this board on the internet, nothing. So this was kind of like the first time this was, like seen on the internet, which was cool. But I mean, just Opti Local Bus was kind of a weird, obscure bus. And I guess it's kind of comparable to VLB, the long VLB bus that kind of looks like this, but there's an extra part to it. The thing is, these look almost identical to ESA cards. So as far as I know, all Opti Local Bus cards, most of them will say on it Local Bus. This one does not. Of all the Opti Local Bus video cards, I believe they only came in Sang Labs. This is a ET4000, and I believe that's the only type of card that came in Opti Local Bus format. So the thing you gotta watch out, before you insert cards into these things, you want to make absolutely sure it's either ESA or Opti Local Bus, because if you insert, for instance, an ESA card into a Opti slot or the other way around, you could damage the card, the board, or both. So be absolutely sure. But like I said, it was an obscure bus. Not that many motherboards had it. It wasn't around long because they replaced it with a standardization of the VESA or VLB bus slots. But it's kind of a neat find. It's weird. Speed-wise, it's probably about comparable to VLB. I haven't really been able to do testing because, unfortunately, I can get this board to post, but I can't get anything else running. I can't get a hard drive working with it or anything. So I don't know. But it's bizarre. Opti Local Bus is bizarre. And the also neat thing is that this helps confirm is this is a CIS chipset. So there was a little bit of debate, I guess, at one point on Opti Local Bus. Was it only on Opti chipsets? Because Opti also made chipsets. But no, it was available on non-Opti chipset motherboards. So that is that. And now I'm going to show something even more obscure. I actually have a video on this card, but I don't say anything. It's just kind of like testing it out. And it's this sound card, and this is another example of something that, as an individual, you can go out retro computing and you could come across something that has never been discussed, or at least, in any depth. And this is it's a Diamond computer system, so it's a Diamond card, sound card. And this is it's a Sonic Pro from 1993, and it's an ESA sound card. But the weird thing is it uses and I'm probably not pronouncing this right, the Area chipset for sound. Now this is an extremely rare sound chipset. I watch Pixel Ships, or it's Ancient DOS games, and even he mentioned it in one of his videos, I think for the Seventh Guest, that uses that chipset as an option. But even he mentioned it's an uber rare, almost obtainable kind of sound card chipset. And before I had to post this on Vogan's to see what it was exactly, because I just picked up a random 486 computer off Craigslist for like $10. This was in it. My first thought was, oh, it's a generic throwaway Sound Blaster clone. So I threw it up on Vogan's, and someone got back to me that no, it uses the Area chipset, and to my best knowledge, that was the first time, and this was only like a year ago, that was the first time it was ever, even a picture of it was on the internet. So other than the video I did before, I think this is the only video of the entirety of the human internet that this thing is even shown. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, that just boggles me. The internet's been around for a long time now, well over a decade, 2 decades plus, and to have something that's like, at least to the best of my knowledge, for the first time, I don't even know if this card's ever come up on eBay. I don't know. I don't know the value of this card. I don't know. I mean, I could put it on eBay and it could go for $300 plus. I could get no bids because maybe no one wants it. I can't even find the drivers for it. It works with, there were other cards like the Prometheus sound cards that used that same chipset, the Area chipset or Aria chipset, and I did some testing if you watch my other video, and I can get it to output sound. Unfortunately, I don't think the mixer works, and I don't know what these switches do, and I can only get it to output from one thing at a time in mono, so I don't know. But I do know this is really rare and interesting. It's just an example of when you're in retro computing, you can come across something very unique and very kind of bizarre. So that's cool. And now the last thing I want to talk about and go over is this, and I don't think this is too bizarre, but to me it's bizarre because in all my years of retro computing, I've never come across a cordless like old school joystick that's not USB. Like, it's a cordless controller that uses the joystick port. I think it's bizarre. I don't know, maybe these aren't that rare or uncommon, but I had never seen one before. So to me, it's kind of bizarre. So I haven't even, I mean, it looks new. I'm not sure anyone's even has used this thing. I don't know if there's drivers. I don't know. So here's the thing, like, I think it uses, I don't know how exactly it works. Maybe it uses infrared, like an IR, like a television remote, sort of. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if I can hook this up to a 386 and get it to work. Although I get the feeling this thing wants drivers. I don't know. I'll see if I can get it working, and then I'll get back to you. Alright, well, here it is, at least unboxed. So it doesn't feel that terrible. Look, that's kind of a batarang thing going on. I don't know, I think those are just for decoration, because they don't do anything. Aha! Okay, so it needs, now from what I'm looking at, it doesn't require drivers, so it probably uses like the standard driver with DOS for joysticks, or it looks like it requires two AAA batteries. I might still have AAA batteries. Might. It looks like two turbo buttons and then an A, B, and then this. It doesn't feel horrible. The thing that worries me though, I don't know if it's sensitive enough to hear it, but there's like a rattle. And I mean, that could just be some like little like plastic tab that snapped off and is rattling in there. Or I hope it's not like a transistor or something that like popped off, because then it's not gonna work. Okay, well, I'm gonna try to find some AAA batteries, and if I can't, well, I'm probably just gonna post the video anyways without testing it out, just because I want to put something up for the week, and I don't really feel like going out and buying batteries. Plus, I'm on like a shoestring budget this week, so I'll get back to you guys. Alright, well, I did find some AAA batteries, and here's the machine I'm going to do the testing on. This is just a little 386 I put together. I don't really want to go into the specs, but nothing really super special. Yeah, that does says EE. Look, the little display board things, unless you have like the jumper chart, they're hard to figure out sometimes. So yeah, that's the closest I feel like messing with it to get the 33 megahertz. So it's a 33 megahertz, 386, and I think it has 8 megabytes of RAM. Like it has a really weird small amount of L2 cache, like 64 kilobytes maybe, or maybe even 32 kilobytes. But yeah, that's an Intel 33 megahertz. You know, basic sort of setup going here. So I have the little sensor set up, and I'm just looking for a game that will work. So we'll get back to you. Well, maybe I can go into the inside of this computer a little bit. I had to open it up anyways because the floppy drive connector, the power connector, came undone. This is actually slightly bizarre itself, is because it's kind of a micro 386/486 motherboard. You can see it's really small. It ends, I know there's a ton of wires in the way, but it ends like right here. So it's really compact. Sorry about the lighting. I've got eight sticks of RAM. As you can see, if I can get these things out of the way here, it's got an ITT math coprocessor. If I can, there we go. And it has a really kind of early-ish, probably can't see it, but stupid wires. I'm terrible with wire management. But anyways, the chip, the 386, the 33 megahertz 386 back there, it is a Intel, but it doesn't have the white Intel stamp on it. So I think it's an earlier chip, because usually the later ones it says like in white, kind of like that one. It says Intel on it, and I think the chipset is like it's not compact, but it's like Contract or Contact or something like that. I don't have anything super fancy. AT4000 video card, of course. That's really my choice for 386s. I have an earlier Sound Blaster in there, CT1600 Sound Blaster. I believe that's a 1.0 maybe, or no, it's a Pro 2, sorry. It's a Sound Blaster Pro 2 sound card. And then just, like an EDI controller or IDE controller and multi-IO controller, stuff like that. So yeah, that's the inside of this. I guess that's a little bit bizarre that it's such a small compact motherboard. Yeah. All right. So let's get to that controller finally. Okay, so yeah, this it actually works surprisingly well. Here, I don't know if you can see, I got Prince of Persia running, and I mean, as long as it's pointed at that little sensor, it seems to work just fine. It feels, like a normal gamepad. I'm not very good at this game either way. But yeah, it seems to work fine, really. It actually has some really good range on it. I'll give an example here. Alright, so I'm all the way out of that room, and I'm in a different room, and as you could say, it's still working, as long as I'm pointed at it. So that's actually some pretty decent range. I'm kind of impressed. So yeah, it works. Works better than I thought. I mean, it doesn't feel the greatest. It's kind of light, sort of cheapy feeling. But it works. The range is pretty good. I was worried about maybe you had to be like right up on it for it to work, but no, it's pretty good. So the Dexxa cordless control pad. a little bizarre in my opinion, just because I've never seen a wireless joystick port controller, but works pretty damn well. So yeah, there's some bizarre and possibly even odd items, retro computer related items for you to ponder. Maybe I'll do more of these in the future, you know, at least as filler. So thank you again for watching, and hopefully I'll have the technical issues with that longer full video I'm working on for next time. But thanks again.